Welcome back to The Leading Edge, the official podcast with the National Flight Training Alliance. On this podcast, we talk with leaders, educators, and innovators across aviation about the ideas shaping the future of flight training, pilot development, and the aviation industry. Each episode features conversations with the people working on the front lines of aviation, sharing their experiences, insights, and perspectives on where our industry is headed.
Today's episode is especially exciting because we're celebrating Women's History Month by highlighting the journeys and impact of women in aviation. Today, we have two amazing guests, Dean Kollar and Sarah Daniels. Welcome both.
Hey, y'all.
Thank you for
Happy to
being
be here.
here. So first, we have Sarah Daniels, also known as Sarahnautics, a commercial pilot and aviation storyteller who is documenting her mission to land at every public airport in the United States while sharing aviation and audiences around the world. And we also have Dean Kollar, Assistant Dean of the College of Aviation and professor at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, where she's been mentoring and developing the next generation of aviation professionals, and I can say has touched thousands of students' hearts.
And yeah, we're excited to hear both of your stories and talk about how we can continue encouraging more women to pursue careers in aviation. So we'll start off by hearing about both of your journeys into aviation. What really sparked your interest and how did you get started into this whole fun aviation?
Go ahead, Sarah. You take the first round. Okay. Well, I actually got into aviation because I was afraid of flying. I am a professional actor by trade, and a lot of my performances are around the country, so I do a ton of traveling. And every time I get on a flight, I would just sit there and freak out the whole flight. I just hated turbulence. Anything that I didn't understand was upsetting to me. So I was on a flight actually to go see opening night of the Eras Tour, and I'm sitting on a plane, it's bumping around and I'm panicking. And so I'm looking at my phone trying to go through Google, how do I get over this? And one article I read suggested taking a discovery flight because they were like, if you get in a Sky Chevy, you're never going to be afraid again, in a commercial flight. It'll scare the pants off you and you'll never be afraid. And I was like, you know what? Let me do that. Let's see how that goes. So I got off the plane, called the flight school, as we landed, booked a discovery flight. And then I went on the discovery flight when I got home. And I mean, it was just the coolest thing in the world. And I was like, I have to do this. This is so cool. But then, of course, it was battling that fear while learning to fly. But now, I'm a commercial pilot and it's just been so amazing. And I create content online. And, as you said, I'm going to all the small airports in the United States to try to kind of just see what GA is all about and show people how cool it can be. And, yeah, it's a whole world. So I just hoping to open up people to our tiny little community that is actually rather big.
I grew up in North Carolina, and we spent, my family and I would spend time on the coast of North Carolina. So I would watch Harriers take off as a young girl. And so I told my dad, I was like, I want to do that. And I had a wonderful father, a wonderful mother. My father would always say, Lisa, you can do anything you want to do if you set your mind to it. And so I knew at an early age that I wanted to fly. So throughout high school, that was my focus. I knew that there were certain things that I needed to do in order, to become a commercial pilot, and researching universities. Embry-Riddle just was the right fit for me. I decided to go to the Arizona campus. It was much smaller. So I was from a very small town in North Carolina. And back in the late 80s, early 90s, Daytona Beach was just too busy for me. So I said, I want to go to Arizona. And I loved it in Arizona. It was very, very small. And, it was very different from the East Coast. And you can fly 364 out of 365 days. And I just loved the hiking and being outdoors. And so I had a wonderful experience at the Embry-Riddle campus there. But like many young aviators, I struggled with finances. And, things were not easy. I was a first generation. And then being the ratio of 10 guys to one girl was about the ratio back then. And with a country accent, I think I was the only girl from North Carolina at the campus. And so, I didn't want to talk in front of the classes because people would always tease me about my accent. And so for me, I got all the way up to my last flight course and I ran out of money and I had to go back to North Carolina. And it took me 5 years to work and save money, but I never deviated from my goal to finish and get my degree and all of my flight ratings. So after 5 years, instead of going out to Arizona, I said, I'll go down to Florida because it's closer to North Carolina. So I jumped in the airplane. After 5 years, everything had changed. They had added GPS to the aircraft. The airspace had renamed. Weather reports were different. It was just completely like upside down for me. So I had to jump back in the airplane. I had to keep telling my instructor, I haven't flown in 5 years. I haven't flown in 5 years. If we were diverting to an airport, he'd say, Lisa, just use the GPS. And I'm still trying to pull out the sectional and use my heading indicator and the pencil. And I'm doing old school. I mean, it was CRM nightmare. And, also in addition, that year in Florida, there were fires. It was the summer of these massive fires. It was in 1997. I mean, there were so many homes that burned down here. And so I'm out there flying and I'm getting all this IFR time, and it had nothing to do with thunderstorms. It was because the smoke was so thick. And we did not have air condition, Katie, on our aircraft. So it was, summer, it was very hot. And so that was some character building. But, I finished. I took a check ride on a Friday, and at that time, it was still pay for training at the regional airlines. And again, I didn't have any more money. It was about $10,000 that you would have to pay to get your training once you had your hours. So someone said, well, why don't you get your master's? You could get a job here and get your master's for free. So literally, ladies, this is how my path went. I took my final check ride on a Friday. I interviewed for a position on Monday and I was offered a job on Wednesday. And this year I will celebrate 28 years at Embry-Riddle. And it's just been an amazing journey. And I have had so many opportunities to hold various leadership roles, all of which where I got to work with students. So when Katie says I've literally touched thousands of people's lives, what a privilege that I've had to be able to work with students, especially, our young women, and be able to mentor and help them reach their goals because there's no challenge that they could share with me that I haven't been through myself. So I know that was a little long winded, but it kind of gives you how I came full circle and how I've remained at Embry-Riddle. I definitely found my path for sure.
No, that was amazing. Do you see me, like, crying? Like, I'm just like, "Oh my god, this is so inspiring." I'm such a silly goose. When I, like, look at people like you in this world, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, I gotta step it up. I gotta do more."
You get to go to small airports. Can you imagine the cool people you get to meet, and you get to share your experiences? You get to inspire other women. I mean, for me, I love to come across individuals who feel like they are so defeated. I'm like, no, we are not defeated. You're going
Yeah.
to pick yourself back up, right? And you're going to figure out what it is that you want to do. And I think it's exciting that you get to go and tell someone that, I was fearful of flight, but now I'm a commercial pilot. I think we both could probably share with the young women out there, there's nothing they can't do if they really set their mind and they have the right support in place. And I'm sure both of us could share a lot of the support we've had along the way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Whew, wow.
I mean, even hearing just both of your stories, I'm, still a student pilot, hoping to finish my private in the next year or two. Just hearing your stories and the challenges that you face is just so inspiring for me, and I hope I can fit and fill your shoes one day, and be as amazing as y'all are. Oh, wow.
I think
Um,
you say it right, though. I think everybody has a path, right? And
Yeah.
everybody has a story. And I love that, Sarah, you get to go and you get to share those stories because I think in a world that, we all, compare ourselves to others, sometimes people don't want to share their individual story. And I think we all have to kind of stop and listen and say, let me hear where you've come from, where you're at, and where you want to go. And I just love this opportunity to be with three other women who inspire me. and the fact that we can all come together and lift each other up and say, wow, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I think that is the message we really need to send out there to our young women.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I found that fascinating as someone, like, fairly new to the aviation space that, I used to I've been a professional actor my whole life, and that's not necessarily the most supportive space. I mean, you're always being told you're not this, you're not that, and then, you're competing with people all the time. It's a different kind of competition, a lot of it's based on looks and, in aviation, everybody that I've met has tried to help me in one way or another. Like even people who are just creating content in the space, like we need each other and we're like, how can we help each other? How can we fly together? How can you teach me? I'd like to do what you do. I'd like to see your plane. Everybody's just looking out for each other and hearing each other's stories and trying to build each other up and make GA like great and well known and more popular. And I this space is so welcoming as opposed to some other spaces that I've kind of grown up in. So, that's something that's just been really incredible. The women in this space particularly are extremely supportive of one another, and that's new to me as someone who came from, very, very competitive space.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that too because like I feel like we all need to find our community and find that kind of those people to share and really help and build each other up. Have you guys had any mentors, any close people that you've been able to kind of confide in or just talk to or like be able to, help you in your journeys?
My career grow at the university and knowing that I always had them saying, oh, she's from our college, right? And I could go to them and ask them questions and they would lift me up. I've been so fortunate to have so many mentors at the university as well as external. But I feel that, being able to work with so many young people, they often sometimes are my mentors. They motivate me and I learn a lot from the students. I joke and say that they all graduate and they grow up and get old. And when they come back, I'm forever 22. I think when you work at a university and the majority of the people you work with are 22, you're forever 22. But I think the mentorship is a necessity. I think everyone should have a mentor. And I feel at my age, that is one of the things I have to give back. And I have to set the tone of how we should behave as women in aviation, but also giving that mentoring to the students, I think is something very, very important. So yes, I have mentors. I could name all of them, but there would be too many to list. But also aspire to try to be the best mentor I can be to our students and outside as well.
That's just such a great answer. I mean, what a good point that we all like we're all mentored by so many people in this space, like I learn so much from anyone I speak to. Like just yesterday I was talking to someone who I met on the internet from talking about flying, and he shared something with me about like gusting and like what his personal limitation is for how windy it could be. And he shared something with me that just made me go, oh my gosh, I've never thought of it like that. Like, what a great way to judge your minimums based on this and that. And, it's just small things like all these little nuggets that, we bring with us while we're flying. I still say things that my first instructor said to me and that my second instructor said to me, that my discovery flight instructor said to me, that someone I flew with once said to me. And so every time you take a flight, it's like you're taking a small piece of everyone who's kind of made you. It's like we're like Legos and everyone just keeps adding a Lego and making it bigger and bigger. So yeah, there's just everybody, and it doesn't like Lisa said, like it doesn't have to be someone that's necessarily a teacher. It's like just someone you meet at the airport. I met someone yesterday, 2 days ago. 2 days ago on Saturday, I went to Bardstown, Kentucky, and this young woman named Sophie was working at the front desk. She was 16, and she gave me an entire tour of the space and was telling me about this incredible program they have for middle schoolers that learn about all sorts of things, and then they move up and then they build a plane and they sell it to fund the training. It was just fascinating, and like I learned so much from a 16-year-old, someone 20 years younger than me in like 15 minutes. You're just like these kids are blowing me away. The kids are all right. I'll tell you that.
Well, I think you make a good point. We have to emphasize, and I would think of anyone that's listening to us talk, is that you have to be receptive. And I think, Sarah, you said that well. You were receptive to receive that advice. On my way to work today, I was thinking about that. We recently had our big, large career fair, and you know, oftentimes I don't hold back in giving people advice. But there are some days where I kind of hesitate because sometimes I think students are like, "Okay, I've already heard that. I've already watched a video on that. I hear that in class." And so you think, "Okay, maybe my advice is not needed." But I can tell you that every single one of us, when we are faced with challenges or we are faced with something where we need somebody to help us, all of a sudden we open up and we're very receptive to that advice, right? And we're all going to face challenges and we're also going to have to reach out and ask. So I think we need to emphasize as leaders, and all four of us are leaders in aviation, is that we encourage our young students, especially our women, to be receptive and open and take all of that advice in. Keep what you want and let the
Mhm.
stuff that maybe you don't want go, but always be open to hearing other people tell you something because Sarah, you said it well. It's kind of like Legos. I love that analogy. You just kind of piece it together, and before you know it, you have this amazing, you know, piece of art that reminds you of it took a lot to get there, but wow, every piece counted.
Yeah, I think you both said it so, so well. And I do think that mentorship and love in this aviation community, especially around us women, are just so prominent. Like, I was just talking to Katie earlier about, oh gosh, just about some plain terms, and she was like, "You know, I need to remind me again what it was, Katie." It was, currencies. Sorry, we were
Currency.
talking about currencies, and I've never heard that. And I was like, "You know, what does that mean? Can you explain it?" And, I even look up to Katie, and she is so patient with me when she teaches me about new things that I'm still learning every day, and I really do feel like we are in such a good time period to be around such supportive women, especially in a very, stressful environment when it comes to aviation sometimes. So very grateful.
Thank you, Sophie. That was really sweet.
Yeah. Um, the next question is just many people are listening to this or that are listening to this podcast are either students, instructors, or people just considering aviation careers, especially women. And if anyone is listening today and wanted to follow a similar path to yours, what advice would you give to them?
Oh
Sarah,
boy.
you could first this time.
I would say just don't be afraid to jump in. It's easy to say that. I come from a lot of privilege and I didn't have to fight to make money to get flight lessons. So listening to Lisa tell her story is like I'm just like what a freaking trailblazer. Like what like you worked so hard and I'm like, man, I definitely feel very lucky that I come from a place of privilege and that I could afford all of it right away and but there's no reason to not start. If you have some saved up, start. Get started, start learning now, take in all the information that you can. I mean, we're living in this wonderful digital age where you can learn so much from YouTube and from free resources. There's a lot of people out there who just love to talk and love to teach and love to share. So I'd say just get started, sooner the better. Start taking in information, start, reaching out to local flight schools, pick up like jobs at a flight school, get discounted on lessons. There are ways for everyone and there's a path for everyone. So start now and don't let the cost make you don't let it turn you away, be like Lisa. Go out there and blaze a trail, dang it.
Well, yeah, I would also say, if you have the curiosity, I think it starts with you're curious and, you get excited when you see airplanes. I would say you have to explore that, just like Sarah said. I think if there is a will, there is a way, but you have to be realistic, right? You do have to go in knowing how much it costs to get started. But I have always been able to take the students who go, I give up. I just can't figure this out. Or I had to switch degree programs because I couldn't afford the cost. And I'm like, that's okay, right? Because everybody has a different path. So you have to figure out a plan that works for you. And maybe that is you get a degree and you get a job with a company that has a flying club, or you make a salary that you're allowed to go and build your flight, get your flight ratings and build your time up on the side. There are many different ways, and sometimes you don't always go point A to point B. Just like in flying, we have diversions. And so I always try to tell students that, stop focusing on what everybody else is doing and sit down and craft out a plan. And if that is taking a discovery flight and following up on that, I had this curiosity. Now I take that discovery flight like you did, Sarah, and you're like, oh, I love it. This is what I want to do. Then you get down and you start having those conversations, whether it be at a flight school, maybe you go to Oshkosh or you go to another EAA air show or a local air show. There are so many people there that are willing to give you advice and share. There are scholarships that you can receive. I think looking back, um, from my time, the amount of scholarships that are out there is so much better than when I went through the program. So there are definitely ways I think that you can get to where you want to be able to fulfill your dream of becoming a pilot. So don't get discouraged. If there is a will, there's a way. I have to say that, right?
Yeah, and also it's never too late, Like I didn't start flying until I was 33.
Mhm.
And like that's pretty late to get into something and then become a commercial pilot, And I already had an established career, an established life, and I, had everything ready to go, which is why it was easier for me to just kind of jump in. But it's never too late, If it bites you and you say, I might want to do that, do it. Who's
No,
stopping
I
you?
do love it. It's not too late. You're right. There's so many people that
Never.
say, I don't have all my flight ratings by the time I'm 25, then I'm too old. I'm like, no, you're not too old, right? What is the
No.
retirement age, Katie, for
65.
commercial? That's right.
Mhm.
So you got retirement age. You have a long way to go. And commercial flying is not the only thing, right? You got military
Yes.
flying. Let the government pay for it.
Yep.
Or what corporate, or you want to just be a flight instructor, or you want to banner tow, or do traffic watches, or go to Alaska and be an Alaskan bush pilot. I don't know. There's so many cool
Yes.
things out there that you can do. So airlines is not the only way, but I agree. Do not let your age hold you back. And even if you don't want to fly professionally, a lot of careers in aviation, it's good to get a private pilot certificate. So, go out there and get the private pilot. It'll help you better in the different career paths that you can go into.
It's
Yeah.
also really fun.
Exactly.
I agree with everything you guys have said. I feel like just finding that passion, finding what makes you spark, keeping your head on that swivel, and kind of finding really what makes you kind of feel really, you know, dedicated and
Yeah. There's so many careers too in aviation, business aviation. If you don't, if you may try the pilot track when you say, maybe this isn't for me, but I still love aviation and I still love planes. There's so many different things that you can start getting into. And even me looking for, a job. I'm graduating pretty soon from college and looking for a job that'll pay for my flight training, and going down that sort of pathway. It's there's so many things that I can do and still be in that aviation world, while I'm working towards even being a pilot. So, yeah, I agree with both of you. Start now, I feel sad that I've delayed it a bit, but I'm excited to pick it back up and start, Definitely. Um, if you could go back and talk to your younger self at the beginning of your aviation journey, what would you tell yourself? I know it's a hefty one.
I would definitely say, one of the things I have seen, over, I would say, a decade, and I recently went and talked to a group of women. There were more than 50 young women in this presentation. I would tell myself to be more confident, you know,
Mhm.
and make sure you hold your shoulders. up and you walk into the room and that you know that you belong there. And I think the next generation of women need to recognize that you do deserve to be in the cockpit. You do deserve to be a professional pilot. And so I would probably tell my younger self that, I would like to see a little bit more confidence out of you, Lisa, and not to let your fears or other people that might be discouraging you get where you want to be. And I think along the way, I I built up that courage and I got more confidence. And I really try to promote that, especially among our young women here on campus, is that yes, we do deserve to be in aviation and have confidence. I was at the career fair again. I keep going back to that because that was a recent event. And as some of the young women were walking in, I would go over and whisper, I say, "Can I give you some advice?" And they're looking at me like, "Sure." I'm like, "Hold your shoulders up. Hold your shoulders up, walk in and, be ready to have those conversations and ask for that co-op or internship or that job." And they were like, "Thank you." I was like, "You got it." Right. So confidence.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think I really had the benefit of getting started late because I was, 33 and I was like, "Yeah, I can fly an airplane. Of course I can." You know what other hard stuff I've done in my whole life? Of course I can fly an airplane, like, no problem. And that definitely gave me the confidence to do the things that I've done and the way that I've kind of, like, pitched myself to brands because, I don't fly professionally. I have my commercial license, but my really full-time job is creating content online, and, I create videos for brands, and I basically just tell brands like, "Hey, if I can sell $1.4 million airplanes, like, I can sell your $50 sunglasses," and it's just, like, going in there and giving it to them. But in my early 20s, in my mid-20s, I couldn't do that, I always apologize for everything I ever did, and as a woman and as just a person, walking into spaces, I always apologized. I had a hard time early in my acting career because I really wanted jobs, and I would walk in with, like, desperation instead of confidence, and then as soon as I started to get more under my belt, I would walk into rooms being like, "Yeah, I'm the right person for the job. Of course I am. Like, and I'm gonna show you why. And if you don't think I am, that's okay because this is all based on opinion and it's not about me, it's about you and the puzzle that you're trying to create." So, confidence is I think the number one because again, just as women, we've been trained, for years and years to just be like, "I'm so sorry for existing." And now it's just there's so many amazing women. I mean, I'm looking at 3 right now, and we just walk in and say, "No, this is my space too." Nothing about my gender has to do with any of this. It's just I'm here, and I'm meant to be here, and I should be here, and I will be here. And that's how
Yeah,
this is gonna go.
I think you say the systemic problem starts K through 12, right? And I think
Absolutely.
somewhere along the line, statistically, they say, young ladies in fourth grade are told you're not good at math. Well, they believe that, right? I'm not good at math. Or, in my high school, the guidance counselor, I told her I want to go to Embry-Riddle and I want to be a pilot. And she went to my friends and feared that I was going to be heartbroken. And she said, maybe you could encourage her to apply to some of these other local community colleges to be maybe a nurse or a teacher. And I know that she was coming from a place of she feared. But, I think she just messed with the wrong personality because I've always been that type of young person that when you tell me I can't do something, I will prove to you I will do it. Like y'all talking now, Lisa, I want to see you run a marathon. You can't do it at your age. I am
I'll do it then.
training for that. If you tell me I can be a corporate pilot, I'm gonna start finding somebody that will put me on and I'll go out and be a corporate pilot. So I think for me that motivation was you can't. But let's be honest, a lot of young women are not like that. They are easily convinced that you're right. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And because of that, I think no matter what roadblock I had, I was determined to show everyone that I was going to be able to get that degree. I was going to be able to get my flight ratings. But I think even no matter where you're at in your life, you still kind of find yourself like, I'm not sure if I can do that anymore. So I have a daughter who's flying. And she has been after me to get back in the airplane. I'm like, no, 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 no. We need to focus on you. It's your turn. So she invited me out. She's flying under Part 61, and she is flying with someone whom is one of my mentors. And he's absolutely amazing, former Navy pilot. And so he puts me in the airplane. He said, let's go. So I haven't flown in so long. Right. And it was like riding a bicycle, and my heart's pounding, and I am so excited. I leave the ground, and it's just a whole different world. And it was like coming back to me. I'm like, okay, I got to maintain altitude. I want to make sure that my airspeed's under control, and I'm all in trying to work. By the way, I'm flying a 172, as was 1969. So the paint had not been required displayed as the FAA did after 1969. So I'm talking the the instruments were all over the place, right? Goodness, air indicator, and I'm looking all over. So concerned about being able to fly with commercial, like I had just passed my check ride. And so I really kind of forgot to look outside, and he kept saying, look outside, look outside. But I did do those three takeoff and landings, and I posted it on Facebook because I have a lot of family. That thing got over 700 reviews. Like everybody take that and land that plane. And so I felt so like I inspired a whole another generation of people that I know who have all their flight ratings who are not flying. I'm like, get out there and get current then, right? It's I can do it. You can do it. So, definitely, I think that, we have to continue pushing ourselves no matter, where we're at.
I think that comes back to the kind of growth mindset too. Like definitely always are like looking for that new thing and yeah.
No matter where you're at, right?
Mhm.
Right? Like Sarah, she's an actress and then she's a pilot. And what else is next for you, Sarah? Right? And I would ask both of you, what's next for you? And we go, are you what's next?
I just
The
need
world
someone
is
to
our
tell me
oyster.
what I can't do so then I can decide what I'm going to do.
Here we go.
Right. And
Yeah.
encourage everybody not to let yourself let others hold you back or even yourself, right? Don't let yourself hold you back. You got to continue getting out there and being able to show the world that you can do it. So, yeah, definitely.
Wow, I'm feeling inspired.
Me too. I'm like, maybe I do want to do this for a career. I don't know. Maybe I'll turn it all around.
I love it. I love it. I think we should all go flying together. I mean that was
Yeah.
uh, part 2 in the airplane.
Yes. I will edit.
Um, yeah, so just speaking with you guys, just such strong women and strong leaders in aviation. We wanted to really highlight this episode in light of Women's History Month being in March. And we really wanted to talk about representation in aviation from your lenses. What does it mean to you to see more women entering aviation today?
It inspires me. The Oliver Wyman does a report every year. If you've not seen that report, comes out every year, and it says we need more women leaders in our industry. And
Mhm.
I feel like we have done much better since I joined, my professional career. From the time I graduated high school in '88 and beyond, but we still have a long way to go. And so I definitely feel that we should have some more, conferences. It should be a part of a lot of our agendas in our professional affiliations at our universities to say, what can we do to help promote and train, just like we called this podcast, the next, women in the next generation of aviators. So I definitely feel that we have a long way to go, and we need to continue to strive to see our women take those leadership roles. And so what it does for me is it makes me so happy when, a young lady who is interested in it and then gets like just so motivated. Like my daughter is flying, she's in a tail dragger, right? And, really learning stick and rudder and going out and just looking at aircraft that are older than her grandfather and just getting excited about it. And I'm like, I love that. And you just keep on doing it. And, seeing young women, really embrace it and say, I can do this. Yes, you can. So the more women that get involved, the happier I become. I think, I'm all for increasing very diverse teams, and we need to have, lots of diversity in all of our teams. But certainly in aviation, we need to see more women. And so I get excited to hear when a young lady says, I know what I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a pilot. And I'm like, yes, I makes me happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree that there's an opportunity for more. I'm really grateful for the Women in Aviation conference that happens, and Girls in Aviation Day is incredible. When I first bought my plane, I moved across the country, flew it across the country with an instructor, and then the week after that, there was a Girls in Aviation Day at Jacksonville, and I was like, yeah, I'll just go bring my plane because they're like more static planes. And so I'm like, I'll bring my plane. So I bring my Cirrus and I basically just stood outside for 6 hours in the sun and like let little girls get in my plane. And like they would get in the plane and some of them were just like feet like this with their feet on the rudder because I use a booster seat anyway, so they could reach the pedals. And they're like moving and looking out. And I was like, okay, first of all, I'm gonna cry. Second of all, this is amazing. Like just the more that we can like put girls in planes, like get them around planes. I'm currently working on a musical about Amelia Earhart's life. I'm currently the lead producer. Rest in peace, me. But it's really exciting to get to tell her story because so many people don't really know the legacy she left. I mean, the 99s and like she was out there. She was like more women blazing trails. Like she was very confident and very forward, and there were a lot of amazing women like that were highlighting in this musical. And getting to share this with theater people who have no idea. Like I watched the lights kind of flicker and the light bulbs go off and people starting to get excited and hearing about the legacy and how it's affected people they know. And so just like reaching people that aren't just the girls who are exposed because their grandfather or their dad or their brother was a pilot, kind of trying to reach those other communities, which is why Girls in Aviation Day is so great. But how can we reach people outside of our sphere, first generation pilots? How can we do more? So I hope that social media helps. I hope that I land on somebody's For You page on accident because they like Disney princesses and I used to be a Disney princess and somehow I just land there and they're like, what is this? Oh, it's a pilot. Like how can we there's more we can do, and I hope that even stuff like this will help. So it's just about like continuing to get in front of people so that they see, yes, I can do this, and that there's no like barrier to entry. Like I can just do it like everybody else does.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're highlighting the pioneers before us. There's Bessie Coleman, Eileen Collins, and Embry Riddle. We just hired Jenny Levitt. She is our dean of the College of Aviation at the Prescott campus. She was the first female fighter pilot. And I'm like, wow, that is absolutely incredible. We hear amazing stories from those women who have really blazed the trail for all of us. And I think we all have a role, whether you are out there flying the line or you're an educator or you're even a guidance counselor in high school promoting, STEM careers to our women. I think it's so incredible that we keep sharing those stories that were past and, currently going on. So I think people do find something in it and they can relate and connect with someone and go, I see myself in that person. And I think we have to put more and more role models out there, like the Sarah Daniels and the Katies and the Zofias, right? I think it's important. So, wow, I can't wait to see that come out.
I'm really excited too. Well, I gotta get to work, start writing checks.
Or can we watch the podcast, the theater production?
Well, it's currently in development. We have had one reading of it so far. There's gonna be another one this summer, and then, it's all about finding the space. So I'm hoping that we find a regional theater that wants to put it up, and then, from there, who knows? Sky's the
Sarah,
limit.
you have to record it for us.
Oh, for sure. I
I
have a
would
couple
love
of the
to see it.
songs, but they're kind of, it's a little hush-hush until we kind of, find our stride, but it's very exciting. I'm excited, and I will keep you all posted.
I'm
That's awesome.
Yeah, just to highlight Sarah, I think you've done an incredible job bringing aviation to audiences through your social media and that storytelling point of view, even all the fun things that you do, have just been so fun. Like, I think you were flying some puppies up in the plane the other day.
Yes,
With the little
yes.
puppies. Oh my gosh, so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do think that you're reaching such an audience that, and the algorithm of social media is so strange sometimes where you can't even interact with anything and it'll just pop up. But I really do see you inspiring and to every audience out there too through social media.
Thank
Have
you.
you personally seen an impact from any specific person that discovered aviation through your content?
I'm gonna start crying. Don't do this to me.
Oh,
Um,
no.
I I mean, it's really blown my mind. When I realized the reach, like how insane the reach was, I landed at an airport. I can't remember where. I was on my way to my first Oshkosh, appearing as an ambassador for Cirrus, and I stopped at my first airport, and I get out of the plane, and I see a gal, high school age, and her mom at the airport just kinda standing there, and I, start to walk in, and I open the gate, and they were like, "Are you Sarah Daniels?" I was like, "Yeah," and she was like, "I saw that you were coming to my airport, and so my mom and I got in the car, and I drove out, and I just had to meet you." And I was like, I'm gonna cry in front of a stranger. And so I was like, "Let me just go inside, use the bathroom, whatever," and then I came out, and then I invited her out, let her, see my plane and stuff, and it's just, that kinda stuff, and I mean, I hear wonderful things very often from just people, my daughter is inspired by seeing your videos, and, I have a daughter, and I hope that they're inspired, and again, I just feel like such a silly goose next to someone so incredible like Lisa, but, I have to take the flowers and accept that, it is, showcasing general aviation, and it's showcasing, women pilots, and that you can go on all sorts of adventures and by yourself. You can do it by yourself. I do have a lot of comments that say things like, "Where's your husband?" Which, it's because I'm a woman flying by myself. Like, how dare she? What's she doing all by herself? But I'm just a woman by myself flying planes, and that's perfectly normal and perfectly reasonable to do. So I hope that it just inspires more young women to kind of go on their own adventures and do their own thing, because you can be your own person and be your own gal and just do things that the boys do.
Well, I think that really shows that it's still needed, right? If our young women,
Yes.
are still kind of seeing, like my children, I always drive. If we go on any road trip, I am the driver because I like to be in control. So my kids don't
Mhm.
feel any other way. Like if my husband is driving the van, they're like, "What's wrong with mom?" Right? Please let her sleep. Please let her
Exactly.
sleep. But you still have, young women kind of looking up to saying, where's the father? And we have lots of wonderful couples that fly together. I mean, there's so many moms and dads that I know that on airplanes and they both fly and they're both very competent pilots. And I think that's so cool to, have that in your family. But the fact that, you're by yourself, I mean, what an inspiration, Sarah. You're showing them, yes, I can fly by myself and I don't need a husband to do it.
And I can vote.
So I love it. I love it.
I feel like it's so great that you're able to share such a unique experience with, the general public. It's so reachable to just be able to watch a video and be like, "That's an aircraft, she's talking to ATC," it's very cool to see kind of that window into the, general aviation experience.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Cirrus is a really nice aircraft.
Where's my... I have my plane model in the back. I love my plane, and I have a new one coming in July, a new G7 Plus, and it's all custom, and you will know it's a lady rolling up when you see that plane. I will tell you that much.
I love
That's the
it.
one I'll take you all for a ride in.
Yay.
That's where part 2.
Yes, part 2 is we'll get in the plane. Yes.
There's new Cirrus. Yeah. We're gonna remind you, Sarah. Don't be telling us you're gonna take us in your airplane.
Oh,
We're gonna be like,
I
Sarah.
have a hangar at Ormond Beach. Like, this is not hard.
All right,
Like,
fantastic.
I'm
All
already
right. So
coming
I
to
live
visit.
in
I have
Ormond.
fun.
We're just right around. We're in the same town. There we go, Sarah.
See, we did it. It's destiny.
Katie and Zofia, y'all did this on purpose, didn't you? You connected us for a reason.
Just
Maybe a
knew.
little bit.
I love it.
Wonderful. Well, I have a question for you, Lisa. You've spent a lot of your career, you said, working with students and mentoring kind of the future of women professionals in aviation. What, I guess, are some things that you've learned about helping students succeed in aviation? Like, what are most thoughtful things that just stick out to you and to, help them cross that finish line, especially women, too, at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think it really comes back to, them not being afraid to share their story. I think it's important that they can validate where they've come from or where they're at and where they're going. But I think also, the biggest thing for me is to see someone who actually gets to where they want to be. So recently, I had a young lady who just went through training at Republic Airlines. And I met this young lady when she was a sophomore. I was teaching a business class and just absolutely just knew she was going to be very successful. And so getting to know her through her journey as a CFI and building her hours and then doing all the applications and all the challenges, that she was able to overcome. And so I'm in a meeting recently and my text starts blowing up and she's showing me the picture of her in her uniform. And then she's showing me pictures of a sunset from her from the flight deck. And I'm just like, my heart is like, 3 sizes big. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. So I think seeing someone from the beginning, starting out working on their private and being able to overcome things and stay on their path and then reach the end and get all their flight ratings, get their degree, land their job, build their hours, and ultimately, make their dream come true. And I think that, it's really, really important that every one of those success stories I see with someone similar as this young lady I was sharing is that they were all receptive to having mentors. They learned to use their voice and ask for help and they took advantage of all the services and resources around them. Whether it is I'm going to a university for a 4-year degree or I'm just going to get my flight ratings at an FBO, there are so many services and resources around. Sarah mentioned, women in aviation. There are so many organizations out there that are also willing to help. Our young women get to where they want to be, and our men too. We want to raise them up as well, but this episode's all about, trying to see women achieve and get where they want to be. But the big part is that once you get out there, don't forget to give back. And so recently I received this beautiful pink box and the male person comes in and he says, "This is for you." I said, "What is this?" It looks like flowers. Like, who would be sending me flowers? Like, it's not my birthday. It's not my anniversary. And so I open up this box, and I wish we had have had this podcast last week because you would have seen the orchids. This massive bouquet of orchids. And when I read the card, and then I have to get the card. So hold on.
Okay.
Because this is all about it, Maze. This is all about it. All right. So this is what they wrote. "I am grateful for your support, your allyship, and friendship. Your kindness and encouragement have meant so much to me, and I truly value you. I'm looking forward to continuing to collaborate together and making a difference. And so that was from one of our alumna who recently asked to be a part of an organization, and I was advocating for her, and she's been asked to be a part of this organization. And so once you get out there and you're successful, give it back, right? Open those doors and lift each other up. Because at the end of the day, we don't have to be in competition. We're all on the same team. And so I think that would be what I would strongly encourage is that, we, at the end of the day, we all come together, work together, and lift each other up.
I don't think you could have said it better. Definitely.
And I didn't make this up. I was like, wow, how cool is that? We all tend to get in our different orgs and our different teams and our different airlines. And so sometimes women do become a little competitive. And, at the end of the day, we may be flying together. We may have to team up for a cause, or it may just have to come together for a cause. So I think that, at the end of the day, we have to be able to be that type of woman and to continue making sure that they give back. And so what I have experienced in all those years of me being a mentor and helping women get to where they're at, when they get out there and they get that dream come true, but the fact that then they give back, right? And they're able to open the doors for other young women. Wow, that is for me is the ultimate, success.
Yeah, and that's full circle, That's, you started and they're starting from there, and you just have to be able to keep going and keep it, keep it all happening and rolling down and kicking that can down the road for everybody,
Well, thank you so much, both of you. It was really, really nice to have you and just hearing all of your perspectives. If you guys are welcome to, come back anytime. We can chat, we'll keep in touch. I know King Kollar is right in the College of Aviation, and I'm, excited to hear about that new aircraft.
I have to come visit. I have to come visit Embry-Riddle because I watch everybody taking off, going that same departure up the shore, over the water. So I have to come visit.
Well, you are welcome anytime. And Katie and Zofia, thank you so much for allowing me to participate. It was so funny. I asked Katie, I said, who recommended me? And she goes, I did. And I was like, wow. I was like, Katie, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this. I really do appreciate the time you've given me for this.
Yeah, thank you for having me, even though I still feel like a little silly goose over here. I'm so inspired by all of you. So thank you.
You guys are so sweet. Thank you too.
So you have to keep in touch, right? And let me know how you're doing. You're getting ready to graduate and land.
Yes.
So now we're a connection. So I hope we're linked. We're linked on LinkedIn, so I can kind of keep up with you and see how you're progressing in your flight.
Yes, I will, definitely.
Katie, you're already mine, so I get to watch you. You're all good. Sarah, you live in my town, right? So
Yeah.
no excuses, and you're welcome to come to Embry-Riddle anytime. Just let me know.
I will. I'll send you an email. I would love to.
All right, sounds great.
Wonderful. Okay. I just will do the outro now. That's okay? Okay. I think, Katie, you can start off.
So if you'd like to learn more about today's guest or follow their incredible journeys, please click the links in the description below to find their social media and learn more about their work. And to learn more about NFTA, you can go to nftaus.org or reach out to either Zofia or I. For everyone listening, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Leading Edge podcast.